everyone, it's Lisa. Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to share with you a Snowflake mini album that I made using the Snowflake folded die set from the Stamps of Life. And this is another one of my videos in my 12 Days of Christmas craft series. So let me go ahead and share with you what this mini album looks like, and then I'm going to show you how I made this album. So you can see the front, how cute this is. It just says Wintertime Fun. And then as you open it up and you go through, it has actual pictures in it that I die cut out using my circle dies and added some stickers and some embellishments. Look how cute this is. Isn't this adorable? And then the back side is also the snowflake. This would also make for a really cute Christmas ornament that you can hang from your Christmas tree, just as an album just like this. I know for my Christmas tree, I have a little photo album from one of the years past that has pictures of Christmas from that particular year that I look through every year. And it's just a little album that I hang, and it's really super cute. So that would be a really cute Christmas tradition to start, just to hang this and create a cute little album every year. You can put the date on here of when the pictures were from, and it's just something nice to reminisce when you are decorating your tree. So let's go ahead and take a look at the supplies that you're going to need to create this album. You will need your Snowflake die from the Stamps of Life. This is the A2 size folded snowflake die. This is going to be what we're creating the album with. And I'm also going to be bringing in this paper, and it's the Hello Winter by Echo Park Paper Company. It's a 12 by 12 inch paper, and I'm going to flip through the paper really quick and show you that it does have some stickers that are included with it. And I picked this up at the Scrapbook Expo probably about a year ago, but I believe that they do sell this on Amazon, and I will link it below. But it does have some sayings that you can cut out, but some of these are a little bit too big for the album, so I probably won't be using that sheet. Here are the stickers, which I'll show you in just a minute. And I'm just going to quickly just flip through the paper so you can see. It has some beautiful blues and teals and white. So there's some navy blues, there's some grays, so a lot of neutral colors, but in the blue-green family. So you can see the teals and then the dark blue. Oh, there's the back of the other page. But it's a whole winter theme with the snowmen. You can see the Christmas trees. And with the snowflake, I wanted to go with a winter theme, so I have this in my stash, and I said, well, let me just go ahead and pull this out, and I will go ahead and use this on my album. So that's the paper, and here is the sticker sheet, and you can see that it does have some little stickers, some little sentiment stickers, and some cute little embellishment stickers with little pictures. There's some banners, and again, some of these might be a little too big for this little album, but that's okay because some of the stuff we can still use. And I decided to go with this because I figure that it's going to be much quicker to make a mini album with pattern paper and embellishments that match, rather than having to die cut so many different things and different sentiments and stamps and color. I wanted to make this super quick. Now, if this paper pad is not available, there are so many paper pads out there that you can use for embellishments. You just search for winter, and I'm sure that you'll find something if this is not available. But there's many of the paper pads that come with the stickers and chipboard pieces that you can use if you're interested in making this mini album and you can't find this. But if this is available, I will link this down below in the description. You're also going to need some chipboard, and I've already done some die cutting on my chipboard, and I took my large shadow die in that snowflake set, and I die cut 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces of chipboard for my pages in my album. Now, you can always add more depending on how many pages you want, or you can have less. I think 5 is a good starting point, and I can always add more later on down the road. I'm also going to be bringing in cardstock from the Stamps of Life. This is the Midnight color, which is the dark blue, as well as the Seaglass color. You will also need some Storm cardstock from the Stamps of Life, or any gray cardstock, and You will need that to die cut some scalloped circles for your mats, for your photos. So you're gonna need your scalloped circle die, and you're also gonna need a circle die that layer. So the scalloped circle will need to be a little bit larger than your circle die. You will also need your Stamps of Life adhesive sheets. You will also need the Seaglass ink from the Stamps of Life, and I also have the Storm ink from the Stamps of Life. We'll need a crocodile. You will also need some album rings. You'll also need some ribbon. And then you'll also need some glue. I have the art glitter glue and some epoxy dots. And of course, you're gonna need scissors and a die cut machine. And I am going to go ahead and get started on creating my cover. So for my cover, I am going to be using a piece of chipboard. So I'll need one piece of chipboard for that. I'll set these pieces aside. And these plain pieces are what I'm gonna use for my cover. So I'm gonna use my shadow layer and die cut a piece of the Midnight cardstock. And then I'm going to be using my layering piece for a piece of the Seaglass cardstock. You'll also need some adhesive sheets because you will definitely want to cut this piece out using some adhesive on the back of your cardstock. So I'm gonna go ahead and prepare this piece using the Stamps of Life adhesive sheets. So I'm just gonna pop that on there just like that. Press that down really well. This whole piece where the square is now becomes a sticker. So I'm just going to cut off anywhere where there's no adhesive because this is the part that I'm going to run through my die cut machine, which is the part that has the adhesive backing. So this is going to go through on there. And then on the Midnight piece, I'll go ahead and cut this down so I have plenty of room in my die cut machine. And I'm going to run that one through on there. So this is what comes out of your die cut machine. Now all the little pieces here stayed in my die, and I'm thinking since they already have the double-sided adhesive on the back, I'm gonna save these in case I want a paper piece for another project. I'm not gonna do it for this project, but just in case I wanna do it for another. There are a few that stayed in the die, so I'll just need to take those out. But before I work on weeding those out of there, I'm gonna take my Seaglass ink, and I'm just going to add some ink to the edges of the snowflake just to add a little bit of dimension. I think that would be really, really pretty. And then I'm just going to peel back this adhesive backing, and then I will align this where it is equal on the shadow layer, and then I will just press that down. And I'm just going to take an acrylic block and just kind of go over this just to make sure that it is pressed down really well. Because remember, it does have the sticky on the back. Isn't that pretty? Those colors are absolutely gorgeous, and that ink just adds so much dimension to the edges. Next, I'm gonna take this piece and I'm gonna add some glue to the back, and I'm going to add it to one of the chipboard pieces. Next, you're gonna need to clean out your snowflake die because you will be using this for the back cover as well. And this piece is our front cover, and now we're just going to turn this over and we're ready to do some patterned paper on the next piece. Now, if you wanted the inside pages of your album to be this snowflake paper, just like I've done on the front cover, you can do that. You can take all of your chipboard pieces and do this layering snowflake. But instead of layering the cardstock like this using this top layer, I am going to be using the pattern paper. All of these colors in this paper pad, they match so nicely with this front cover that I made. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pick a sheet, and it can be any sheet here, and I'm going to die cut it with my shadow layer to create the back side for my snowflake. Now, when you are die cutting your page for the back side of your snowflake, you're going to need to run your die on the opposite side of the paper when you run it through your die cut machine. So for example, I'm taking my shadow layer and I'm just going to cut down to size, the size that I need for my shadow layer. And this is the pattern paper that I want to show on the back side of this. But because it's the back side, I need to die cut it face down. So I'm actually going to die cut it face down. This is this paper that I do not want to use the paper that I do want to use will be face down in my die cut machine. So when that comes out of my die cut machine, I'm gonna turn it over, and then I will have an exact match on this chipboard. So I'll just need to line it up and it will fit perfectly. Now, if I decided that I wanted to use this side, it's not gonna fit perfectly on this paper. So you can see that I can't even find a spot that sits perfectly. So that's why you have to turn it over when you're doing your die cutting. And then I'm just going to glue this down. Press that down, and there's our second page. So here's our cover, and here is the back side of our front cover. For the next page, you're just going to take your chipboard piece. You're gonna find a piece of pattern paper that you want to use. And I always like to have a busier pattern, and then the next page, a not so busier pattern. But it's really up to you how you wanna do that. So I'm gonna go ahead and use this darker blue pattern paper and die cut it. Since this is the front of my chipboard, I am just going to die cut it face down on the part that I want to use for this second chipboard piece in my album. So once that comes out of your die cut machine, take your glue and glue that down to your chipboard. And then we're gonna turn that page over, and we're ready to find a piece of pattern paper for the back side. So here's the paper that I'm going to be using. And because it's the back side, I'm going to flip this over and die cut it face down. And when that comes out of your die cut machine, this is the piece that I want to use for that back-sided page. So I'm going to take my glue and glue that down. So I'm going to take another chipboard piece. I'm going to find a piece of pattern paper that I want to use to complement that one. And I'm going to die cut that with the die on top of the paper that I want on top. And when that comes out of the die cut machine, I'm going to add glue to the back side and add that to my chipboard. And then I'm going to turn that over, and I need to find a piece of pattern paper for this side. So this is the paper that I want to use, and because it's the back side, I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to run that through upside down. So I'm going to put glue on the back and then add that to my chipboard. I'm going to take my next piece of chipboard and I'm going to find some paper to complement that. So I'm going to use this pattern paper, and I'm going to go ahead and run that through my die cut machine with the design that I want to use facing up. And then we'll add glue to the back and add that to my chipboard. And then we'll turn that one over and we'll find a design for the back side. So I'll be using the Christmas tree pattern paper, and because this is the back side, I'm going to turn it over and then die cut face down. Now, one thing that I do want to mention is this is a directional paper, just like this one was, where none of the other papers that I used were directional. You can basically put it in any way and it would be fine, but because this actually has a direction on it, you're going to need to make sure that you die cut this one using the same direction as you see on the previous paper that you use. So you can see the moose, how its head is on this particular snowflake end. So what you want to do, because that would be the top of your snowflake, so what you want to make sure that you do is you find that same end, which would be right here in the die, and you die cut that one straight up. So instead of die cutting with the flatter edge straight up, because then that would not be the right one, you would want to make sure that you die cut with that same edge straight up, so that when you are binding this album, that your trees are facing up and down, just like your moose and your snowman and your other Christmas tree directional paper that you have here. So just keep that in mind when you're die cutting. So I'm going to turn this over. And again, this is the part of the snowflake that I want to be straight up on the top. So I'm going to die cut that face down. Now when I'm adding that to my page, again, just make sure that it is at the same spot that this one was at, so that your trees are lined up. Hopefully that makes sense. So I'm going to add glue to the back of this. Okay, and then just press that down really well. So I'm going to turn that over. This is going to be face down, and then we have our last piece of chipboard, and we need to find a piece of paper. I'm going to be using this pattern, and there's no specific direction for this, so it really doesn't matter which way I die cut it. So I'm going to go ahead and put my die face down on the paper that I want to show on top. Once that comes out of the die cut machine, I will add glue to the back, and I will add that to my chipboard. So now the back page, this page here, is going to be the same exact as this page, okay? So you're going to need another piece of your Midnight cardstock for the shadow layer, and the Seaglass cardstock with the double-sided adhesive on the back. I'm just gonna trim this down. I already put the double-sided adhesive on it. And then you'll need your Snowflake die, and you'll need to die cut that out. So again, make sure all the little pieces are out of your Snowflake before running that through your die cut machine. And these are the two pieces that you're running through your die cut machine. So I'm gonna go ahead and ink up these edges of the Seaglass paper. Now for the back cover of the album, I'm going to replicate the front cover. So it's going to look exactly like this, so that when it is closed, it's going to be a complete 3D effect going all the way around. Now, a couple things I need to mention about doing the back cover. One is, if you're going to go for this look where you have the layered look with the snowflake top, you're going to die cut just like you did with the front, the shadow layer out of the Midnight, which is this one, and then this snowflake layering die out of the Seaglass. Now, I did not put double-sided adhesive on the back of this, and the reason I didn't put double-sided adhesive on the back is because since this is the back cover and you're adhering to the back of the chipboard, you're going to need to flip these cardstock pieces over to get an exact fit. So if I flip this over on the back side of the Midnight, I'll now have an exact fit on my chipboard. Now, if I didn't do that, it's not going to fit perfectly, and you're going to see some overhang here on your chipboard. So you have to make sure it's flipped over. And then for your die cut snowflake, again, you have to flip it over in order for your pieces to line up exactly. Now, the disadvantage to this is, number one, the back side is a little rougher than the front side. And again, you have to just put glue on all these little pieces on here. Now, if you wanted to just do it like the front and put the double-sided adhesive on the back, what's gonna happen is it's not gonna line up perfectly. So when you try to line this up, you can see that these pieces are not gonna line up. Now, if you don't mind that look and you wanted to put the double-sided adhesive, then go for it. It doesn't matter to me, whatever your preference is. Or you can also just make a back page with pattern paper, just like you did the middle pages. So I'm gonna go ahead and start adhering this down. And then remember, when you do your snowflake, you're actually gonna have to put glue on this front side. And it's gonna take a little bit of patience, but it'll work out. So I'm gonna go ahead and adhere glue, and then I will add it. Now just make sure that all the little pieces here and here are pressed down. So you wanna make sure that you got glue on those really well, and then press all those edges down. And if the glue seeps out like it does here, it's okay, because this glue will dry clear, and I'm using the Art Glitter glue. Now I'm ready to go through with my ink and ink up the rest of these edges. So I'm just gonna use my Seaglass ink just to ink up these edges, and I'm gonna do that for all. And I'm even gonna come in on the back page and just add some ink to the edges of the snowflake. So all my edges are inked, so I have all of them front and back. So the next thing you need to do is you need to make sure that everything is going in the right direction. Now these first few pages, it doesn't matter because these are not directional prints. So what you're gonna need to do is find the page that has a directional print on it, and you're gonna need to make sure that it is completely straight. So if you were to open this up like a book, it is going straight the way that a book would be straight. So find out which side of your snowflake is the straight edged, and then you're going to line up all of the other snowflakes with that one. Okay, and we're also going to do the same thing with the tree, and there's our straight edge, and then the last page, I don't think it matters. So we can just line that up. So that way when you're opening your book, your pages are straight, okay? And then we're gonna go ahead and punch holes in our little mini album. So what I'm gonna do is I am going to, right now I have my 3 pieces, my first, second, and third page all stacked together. And I'm going to use my Crop-A-Dile, but my Crop-A-Dile is not going to go through all 3 of these pieces. So I am going to remove the center piece, stack the first and second page, so I have this page stacked with it. And where I want to put my hole is going to be here on the right-hand side. But in order to determine where exactly I want my hole, I'm going to just flip this over, and I'm just going to keep my finger on this little part of my snowflake. This is the section that I want my hole, and I'm going to look and see. I initially thought, well, maybe I could put the hole in this little piece that's cut out, but this piece is a little bit too close to the edge for me, and sometimes if it's too close to the edge, I know like with paper and chipboard might not be the same way, but sometimes if it's too close to the edge, the hole might expand, and I don't want that to happen. So I know I need my hole somewhere on here, so I think I'm gonna come in a little bit, maybe to this first hole, and then do my hole there. So I'm gonna take my Crop-A-Dile, and this is going to be my 3/16 inch side, and I'm just gonna come in right over top, and you can actually see where you're punching when you look through your Crop-A-Dile, because there's a hole there, and as soon as you find the spot, just go ahead and press down, and then there's the hole, okay? So when we turn this over, you can see it did put the hole in and everything is straight. So now I'm just gonna take the next page and I'm just going to line it up. This page is not directional, so it's really not gonna matter. Actually, I need to line it up underneath. So it's not gonna matter which side it's on. So go ahead and just line that up with the page that has the hole in the side. Use your pencil, just draw a little circle where you want your hole so you can see it there, and then take your Crop-A-Dile and go ahead and punch. Okay, so now we have pages 1, 2, and 3 all ready to go, and we need to do the rest of our pages. So this next page is directional. So again, we're gonna take the other directional page, just line it up. I'm going to make sure that my trees are straight. So line everything up perfectly. Take your pencil, mark a little circle where you want your hole, and then use your Crop-A-Dile and punch that out. Okay, and then the last page, again, it's really not going to matter which way that you do it. So just line that up really well. Trace that hole. And punch, and then just line all your pages up. And then you'll be able to take your ring. Now this is a 1.5 inch album ring that I'm using, and it's a pretty thick one, just in case I decide I want to add pages later on. I'm just going to go ahead and put it on the ring. That way, as I'm adding stuff to the pages, everything is straight. So there is the start of our little mini album. Isn't that adorable? So let's go ahead and decorate. You're also going to need some Storm cardstock from the Stamps of Life, and I die cut a scalloped circle 8 times, and these pieces are going to be my layering pieces for the inside of my snowflakes. Now I thought about going with either the Midnight or the Seaglass, but I really wanted to maintain a consistent look throughout and just have one color, because as you can see, well, the Midnight, it really wouldn't look good on those dark pages, and I have a couple of those in my album, and I didn't want to go with different colors, you know, on the opposite pages. I just wanted to go with a consistent look and just have one color throughout. So that's why I went with the Storm. You can do whatever color you want. And I am going to take the Storm ink from the Stamps of Life, and I'm just going to ink up the edges of all of these scallops. And then I'm going to adhere each one of them to my inside pages on my album. So I've already inked up all of the edges. Now I'm just going to add glue and add those to my pages. All right, so all of my scallops are adhered to my inside pages. This Scalloped Circle Die was about 2 3/4 inches wide, and then you're going to need a circle die, and this circle die measures about 2.5 inches, so it will layer nicely right inside of your scallop circle. And you're going to need pictures. So I went through some of my albums, and because this is a snowflake, I wanted to kind of go with a wintry theme. So I found some pictures of my kiddos from, oh goodness, this was so long ago, but this was one of the best Christmases that we had when we went up to Georgia, and it snowed really, really bad up in Georgia in the mountains, and we had so much fun. So I took a few pictures out of my big photo album, and I figured I would use these for this mini photo album. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out my circle die, and I'm going to just cut my photos with my circle die. So it'll be a perfect circle, and then I'll be able to glue them onto my pages. So I'm going to do that with each one of my pictures and just die cut my circle with all of these pictures. And I chose pictures that the actual die will fit perfectly around. So you can see there, it can actually grab the snowball in his hand. And then here's a picture of my daughter. That's just going to cut her face out. And then these little pictures of the kiddos playing in the snow, I thought these were super cute. So I can just die cut each one of those just like that. And then once I die cut all of those, I'll be able to add those to my album, and then I'll be able to finish up decorating it with my stickers. So just to start with this first one, just to kind of give you an idea, if you're new to this, I'm just gonna take some washi tape, center my sun right within that circle, tape that down, and run that through my die cut machine. And when that comes out of the die cut machine, look at that. It's a perfect circle, which that will fit perfectly right on my snowflake. Isn't that great? So I'm gonna do that with all of my pictures, and I will be right back. So I went ahead and ran all of my pictures through the die cut machine, and I do wanna mention that when you're using your die cut plates, if you have one that looks like mine, you might end up getting little marks or impressions on your pictures. So it's always best if you have a clean plate to use that for your pictures when you're die cutting them. So now I'm ready to add these to my album. So I'm just going to put glue on the back and add those to the center of each one of those scallop circles. All right, so now all my pictures are added, and now I can embellish with all of those stickers that came in the paper pack. So for the front cover, I'm going to use this Wintertime Fun sticker, and I'm just adding it to a scrap piece of chipboard that I had from when I cut out my snowflakes. And I'm just doing this because I want to pop this up, and I am going to trim this down. And I'm going to use this snowman on my front. And then that Wintertime Fun is going to go right on the front of that. So I'll be able to glue that down. So I'm going to press my snowman down, glue this on the back. Next I have some ribbon. This is just some ribbon that I picked up at Michael's, and it matches the same, it's the same color scheme. So I have a blue with snowflakes, then I have a silver, and then a sparkly blue, and I'm just gonna layer those. And then I'm going to tie them around this ring. And then I'm just gonna spread those open. And the ribbon is just going to hang just for some decoration along the side of my chipboard album. So the last thing I'm going to do is just put some of these little silver epoxy dots just in random spots. And my album is now complete. Isn't this adorable? It was so super easy and quick. So here's the front cover with the snowman stickers, and then turning that into chipboard, the epoxy dots with my snowflake die set from the Stamps of Life. And then when you open it up, you have your pages with your scalloped circles and your circle dies. Again, those are from the Stamps of Life as well. And then you have their stickers, so you can decorate it any way you want. I chose to use stickers because that was going to be the quickest thing for me. And I really love how it turned out. And then there's the back side. So it's like a three-dimensional snowflake album. So leave me a comment and let me know what you think of this album. And thanks so much for watching. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.